donuts, gels, or bananas? Or is it just vibes? What should you be actually eating before and during a run? Well, tonight we're putting run fuel to the test. Hi, I'm Lucia and welcome to episode 142 of the Flying RuNR Podcast. We're going to have some fun tonight talking about one of my favourite topics, food. From donuts and snacks to proper carbo loading routines, on this episode we are going to share our tips on what works for us to help us to fuel pre-run, post and during a run. As you know, we love running and sharing our adventures of running around the world. We are the only podcast with 5 7-star world marathon major runners. And this is the Flying RuNR Podcast. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
It's the Flying RuNR. Run far, run free. Host the 7 stars, inclusive as can be. It's the Flying RuNR for you and me.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, before we get talking about my favourite topic, food, let me introduce my co-host for tonight. Tara's taking a break, so unfortunately, we only have one half of Team Ella, so you can kind of decide amongst yourselves, is it the better half we have or not? So we'll leave that up to the audience to decide. We also have Peter, Tony, and Tim. Guys, how's everyone's week been? I'm going to start with Peter first.
Thanks, Luke. Well, I got to parkrun on Saturday and went to a new location, which was Coomera, and that's near the theme parks on the Gold Coast. And it's a beautiful park, such a nice setting. It's got a cafe on site, which is very exciting. A few little hills and a few loops, if you don't mind that. We did get a little bit lost, but that was our fault because I didn't look at the map of the course before I went, which was rookie error. But the event team were just lovely. The run director was hilarious and just such a nice group of volleys. So I really recommend that one. And then I did my final mega long run on Sunday, so 24K done. And when I looked at the mileage for this week now, we're actually half what we did last week, which was a bit of a shock. Like we're going from 65 down to 33K. So I don't know if that's going to make me a bit antsy. Probably not, because I love a taper and I don't understand runners that say they don't like taper. What's wrong with you? So I think I just need to just learn to enjoy the shorter runs and not being so tired and hungry all the time.
Excellent. I think taper is one of the most underrated words in the English language.
Agree.
Tony, how about you?
Well, once again, just the rehab is going along relatively well. I did the walk army there on Sunday. We went for a nice little slow walk on Saturday, and then the run army was my first event for the year, and normally that would be one that I'd be doing relatively hard to give myself a bit of a baseline. And of course, as everyone who listens to this regularly knows, that I'm currently in walk mode. And so I walked the 10K and was actually really happy with what I did. So I'd set myself a little bit of a target of coming in under 1 hour 40, because that was 10-minute kilometers. And my average pace was 9 minutes and 8 seconds. So I was pretty happy with that. And it was a really good run. I just wish I'd get rid of those hills at the 1K mark, because that was the only K where I crept into the 10. So, but yeah, that was me.
Well done. And Tim, what did Team Ellis get up to?
Well, firstly, that hill just happens to be on Ellis Street, so Team Ellis.
Didn't put it there on purpose.
Yeah. No, well, we both did Run Army yesterday. We ran it side by side. Video is coming soon. I haven't done it yet for our YouTube page, but Tara did really well. She was able to run all the hills apart from that one on Ellis Street, but was able to run the whole course. Got around it in a reasonable time, a time that she was happy with, and the training that she's been putting in with Nicole, who we had on the show last week, is obviously paying off because she's ran yesterday very comfortably at Run Army, and then that was the day after she ran her fastest park run time in probably at least 12 months, maybe more, since well before she had a pacemaker fitted back in May last year. So, and we ran at Chermside Park Run, and as we usually do, we find many people we know. For me personally, I had a good week last week. I got all my training in that I wanted to do. I didn't miss any sessions. I got everything done, and I'm pretty happy. I felt really good. I lost even a kilo and a half during the week, but then managed to put it back on yesterday evening. So, but anyway, all up, it's been a good week for us. Run Army is a fantastic event held here in Brisbane. It's a great way to kickstart the season of the running season. It's not a fast one for us. We treat it as a fun event. We catch up with all of our mates out there, Tony, Sharon. We were just randomly walking along and trying to find a way to get into our corral or find a way to get into the actual race corrals. And lo and behold, we cut through a garden bed, walked across, and there's Tony, Sharon, and their son Tim. So literally came in at the right spot. It was meant to be, I guess. So no, it was a good day yesterday.
Yeah, it was interesting, Lucia, that I was talking to Tara prior to the run. I said, congratulations on the fastest 5K you've done for a while. She said, yeah, I finally got some good coaching. So
no, she just listens to this coach.
Here we go.
There's that little thing inside her head where she just doesn't listen to what I say half the time. So I'm just
only half.
Yes, but anyway. Anyway, Lucia, how was your half marathon yesterday?
So for those listeners that didn't know, I did the half marathon down the south coast in Huskinson. Beautiful part of Sydney, absolutely gorgeous. But first of all, before I go into the race cap, we know we said on the last episode, are we going to take a bet on how many pairs of socks I bought at the expo?
Yes.
How many does everyone think I bought? But keep
4.
in mind, I vowed I wasn't going to buy any.
4.
No.
3?
Peter
Oh,
wins.
yeah.
Peter wins tonight. Features.
Because there was
Features had a good
I bet
bargain.
there was a 3 for something deal, wasn't there? And that
3 for 75.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd fall for that too.
was
And he
your
was trying to
sock
say,
guy
like,
there? Was your sock guy there?
A different
Your
sock
dealer?
guy.
Different
Sock
sock
guy was
guy.
there, but he didn't have any
Ah.
new styles. And I'm like, mate, I was willing to spend the money, but you don't have, I'm like, I've got this one, I've got this one. And then the guy at Features, he was like, oh, these ones are good. I'm like, mate, you don't need to convince me because I've got a fair few. And then he just laughed at me.
What do you do with all these socks, Lucia? Because I literally only have about 4 pairs of running socks that I use during the week, and maybe 5 pairs. But that's about it. That's all I've got. And what do you do with all these?
Sometimes I'll match it with the outfit I'm wearing. Sometimes I don't want to match at all, but I do need to do a big clear out and get rid of some old ones that I just don't wear anymore. So, yeah, I wish I could have managed not to buy any, but hey, I think we all know that was never going to happen. So I ran the Husky Half. Beautiful views. So along the south coast of Sydney, I wasn't going in with any expectations because training hadn't been where it should have been for this. So we went to start. Well, the first wave went at 9. I didn't get over the start line till about 9:30. It was a hot day, boiling hot. So my plan A just went out the window. So the plan was just to finished in just over 3 hours, because, and towards the end I could see people cramping. So I was stopping. It's like, I can only offer you snakes. I've got snakes or Panadol. Like, what can I give you? So I didn't worry about the time. Like at one point I'm like, I just couldn't be bothered. But glad I finished. But they also had a marathon on, which was 2 laps, and then they had an ultra, which was 3. I'm like, if I was doing either one, I would have pulled out after the one because it was just obscenely hot. And then my post-race treat, which for our listeners, I shared a photo with the group yesterday, was a donut and a can of Coke. And I can tell you, it went down a treat. And I'll go further into my loading as we talk more, because one of the ladies in the house that I was staying with, it was her first half. I've never seen someone take carbo loading so seriously. It was like, and then she asked me, I said, don't take my advice. It works for me. Don't do what I do. Yeah, so overall, I was happy it got done. Onwards and upwards to the next one in 2 weeks.
And more race directors need to take note of that Coke at the finish line.
Yes. I knew I forgot to say something. At each of the aid stations, there was water, there was electrolyte, lollies in cups, Coke, and in one of the aid and at one of the aid stations there was a Red Bull. There was Red Bull. I can admit at one aid station,
I think Red Bulls are good.
Don't they elevate? It went down a well. I don't know if it was the Red Bull I had, the Coke, or the electrolyte at that one aid station.
You had all of them?
Lucia's smorgasbord,
Your heart rate would have been peaking at that time. Oh, jeez.
God, it went down. But then at the end, they also had super dupers. That went off. Yeah. So I've got to give. And the people. Oh, sorry, Tim.
I was just going to say we get super dupers at parkrun in summertime at most of the parkruns here in southeast Queensland. They hand them out.
So absolute credit to the guys that organised Elite Energy. Probably one of the best aid station races I've ever been to. If you can do something, and something else they had at a number of the aid station, ice in bags. So I constantly had one of those down just to help bring the body temperature down. So overall, good race. Would I do it again if the start time was brought forward? Potentially, I would.
Okay.
So, yeah, guys, thank you very much. Now, it's a time of the week in which we would normally get a clue from Tara, but in Tara's absence, we're handing the reins to Peter, and usual rules apply. We don't know anything. And for once, Tim does not know.
He definitely does not. Now, I hope I don't let Tara down here. I'm going to do my best with the trivia this week. So, team, it's a who am I this week? It's a person, obviously. So the first clue, I was born in the 1980s, and as a kid, I liked playing football and cricket.
Ooh.
That's it.
Okay.
When you say football, do you mean Australian rules football, or do you mean soccer?
Probably, soccer.
Okay. Now, Luke, before we move on to the news, I do have some stuff from our UK correspondent, Why You Run Fast. And he sent through some stuff, a couple of things that are really interesting, to be honest. Manchester 2027. There was a lot of rumours going around that Manchester Marathon was going to be a ballot. But instead, they're operating a priority access, which I wasn't quite sure what that was. But basically, you sign up with your email address and you get first refusal on a guaranteed place. And they specifically say it is not a ballot. So I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. But anyway, I want to do Manchester Marathon next year. So Sharon and I have both signed up on that priority access. And based on he believes they're now the biggest marathon that isn't a ballot. But it sounds like the priority access might be a ballot. But they specifically say in their social media and on their page it is not a ballot. So it might be a first come, first served. I don't know how it's going to work. I'll let you know. I haven't received any confirmation back yet that they've got my email. So I'm hoping their system goes well. The other thing he sent through, he ran the Prague half marathon on the weekend, one of the super halves.
Berlin.
But also Prague. So they must have been both on the same day. Yeah. So, and he sent me a photo of his Prague accommodation. So we've traveled quite extensively, and I don't think I've ever slept in a coffin, right? Which is what his accommodation looks like. You know, like those pods that they've got in Japan. Well, this looks like a wooden capsule, right? And he said it comes with a lockable shutter. So I'm not quite sure whether I would like that. But Mark, keep sending us the correspondence. It's good that you're out there. It gives us a little bit of touch into the UK.
Yeah. Can I also touch on something as well quickly? One of our former guests on the show, Hayden Habud, just completed the Super Halves and received the Super Half medal in Berlin yesterday. Looked really good, and so congratulations to him and to his wife. Hayden himself has had pretty serious back surgery only about 6 months ago, I think it was, Tony. So he's been through a very long recovery period. This was his first go back on a half marathon distance, and he still ran it in 1 hour, 45 minutes on his recovery. So well done to you, Hayden. I know your time's not where you normally would have it, but that's a phenomenal time given the injuries and the recovery period he's gone through.
And the medal looked pretty cool, I've got to say. So the medal was very much worth it. And just one more thing, Lucia. I don't want to hijack the show, but I had a bit of a dig around a certain UK podcast going back at Tokyo that they really did not cover in depth what runners needed to know. But I'm going to give a shout out to that very same podcast, 40 Runs Podcast. They've just released, and 40 did release his London Marathon podcast. And for every single runner that has ever done London, I would urge you to go have a listen, because it just evokes memories right around the course, the way that he describes it. And it is top notch. It is the best London Marathon course review and tips to get you through the London Marathon. So I'm sorry, Tim. He's run it 6 times, and this is his 7th. So he does have a little bit of an advantage on that. But yeah, if I criticize people, I do it for a reason, but I also acknowledge when they are exceptional. And that was the best podcast on London Marathon I've heard. So listen to it, 40 Runs Podcast, especially if you've run it before. It will bring back memories of the actual marathon bit by bit. So awesome. Back to you, Luch.
Thank you. Why don't we go to the news? Tim, what's been happening around the world this week?
Oh, well, thank you, Lucia. Now, whilst we're talking London Marathon, I don't know if it's London Marathon. Yes, it has. The London Marathon organisers have flagged that due to massive demand and overcrowding, that they've decided that they are looking at ways to increase the numbers of runners and inclusivity on the courses going forward. One format that they are seriously considering at the moment is to move the London Marathon to a 2-day race event. It'd be a 2-day format which is framed as a way to create a safer, more comfortable experience for first-timers, charity participants and runners with disabilities. One proposed model that they're thinking about is that the elite and championship racing would occur on the Sunday, with the mass participation and community waves then rolling out across both days. So you'd have a Saturday marathon and a Sunday marathon. They are looking at this based on how they do some mass running races and bike races around the world, particularly UTMB, the Mont Blanc Ultra Trail, as well as things like Tour de France and multi-day cycling events as well. This would help spread runners over 2 days. It would ease congestion at bottlenecks, reduce start line chaos, and improve medical and transport response times. It would mean that things like tourism and hotel rooms and things like that would be even more difficult to get around London, because those things would be more challenging. But it's one thing that they floated. They haven't actually confirmed that that's the model that they're going to go with yet. I don't know when we'll find that out, but I think it's a good idea. For me, I think, okay, well, it gives people an opportunity to run 2 days. Will the crowds be there to support it on both days? It's a lot of effort for people to go out and do it. Will it have the same hype and focus? You know, when I think about London, one of the things I think about is that the local BBC channel in London just has it on the TV all day long, streaming it. They're interviewing people. There's party atmospheres all around through the London area. People are cheering them on. That's part of the vibe. Would that happen over the 2 days? I'm not sure. But anyway, guys, it's one solution. What are your thoughts?
Don't like it.
So what are you saying?
Don't like it.
Come on, don't sit on the fence, Lucia.
Okay, so you say to someone, I did a London Marathon. Oh, what day? Was it Saturday or Sunday? Did you run it with the elites? To me, it doesn't make sense, because marathon running, and in case you couldn't figure, I'm very passionate about this. Marathon running is one of the few sports in which everyday runners like us get to compete in the same events, same course as the elites. Because other crowds going to go out for 2 days in a row? Probably not. Are they going to have the same entertainment? What about all of the logistics? And also, is it going to increase the chance of getting another rejection? Are you going to get rejected for 2 marathons or just one?
All right, Lucia, I've heard, I know Tim talked about the fact that the one model says they're going to run elite on the Sunday. I've also heard they would run elite men on the Saturday, elite women on the Sunday. So I've heard that they would split the elite field. The thing that I don't get, right, so if they want 100,000 people and they reckon it's going to reduce bottlenecks, so currently they run 50,000 on one day, and then they're going to go 100,000 over 2. So I'm sort of thinking they're the same bottlenecks. The other thing that I would think could happen is that you would then get a bit of prestige around running the marathon on 2 days in a row. So you might have people doubling up, so running it on the Saturday and the Sunday, which I think would then shortcut the whole concept of people being given an additional shot. But probably the biggest challenge that I've got with it, like I like the idea, but the biggest challenge I have is that Tim, going back probably 12 months, mused on our podcast at one stage that maybe London should look at doing an event in the spring and an event in autumn. And so that's probably my biggest challenge with it, is that Tim actually proposed this idea 12 months ago, and somewhere along the line, the idea is filtered back to the London Marathon team and said, well, we don't want to do it twice in a year and have to set up. Well, what if we just did it 2 days in a row? So, but I actually like the idea, as long as there's caveats there, as long as it generally is an elite field both days, and that people can only register to run either the Saturday or the Sunday. I'm all for it.
Okay, can I ask a question? So let's say they do 2 London marathons. Why don't we do two AFL grand finals then? And let more people watch the game
that's
live.
Not the same. Well, they do if they have a replay, but no, it's not the same, Lucia. It would be one race that's just held on 2 days.
Yeah.
No, I don't like it.
You might cross the finish line in your race in 12,000th position, but overall for the 2 days you would only be 27,876 position.
Yeah,
it would be the same.
I like the
I think
idea.
you're still running the distance. It would be the same. My concern is the crowds, I think.
Yeah. Also, the locals might they understand one day the roads are closed and things are shut down, but 2 days might start to annoy them. I don't think it would be quite as special running it. But also, if you want an entry to London Marathon, it's not that hard to get. Like, yeah, ballots are hard to get, but if you're willing to put the work in and fundraise, you can still get one pretty easily, or you can go through a tour operator like we did. The thing is, everyone wants the cheap ballot entries, and that's not feasible for the organisers. Like, the cost of shutting down the city for 2 days as well would be prohibitive. So I like the idea. I wish we could all do it again and open it up, but I think Tim's idea is actually better than doing 2 consecutive days. It's too much, definitely.
The Oracle, here I am.
Well,
all right.
have you written to the organizer, Tim?
No.
Something.
The Oracle. The
They're
Oracle.
listening to us. Anyway, look, we'll see what happens. As I said, it's only a thought bubble at the moment, but it obviously must be a serious thought bubble for them to put it out to get, I guess, some perception from the public as to what their thoughts are. And that's why they've put the thought bubble out there, to see what sort of feedback they get. And if it's largely positive, they'll probably keep going down that path, I would imagine. Now, the second bit of news I've got is Hardcore Harry's. We've been following or talking about it loosely a little bit over the last little while. And this week we finally had a winner in the Hardcore Harry's Challenge. What is the Hardcore Harry's Challenge? Well, it's run 1 kilometre per day for each day of the year. So on January 1st, you run 1 kilometre. January 2nd, you run 2 kilometres. January 3rd, you run 3 kilometres, etc., etc. Well, this week, a gentleman by the name of Tim Kasperzak won the challenge with 83 kilometres. That means he ran 83 kilometres on day 83 of this year after running 82 kilometres on day 82. Now, some stats about his effort. The week of March 16 to March 22 was his biggest week with 546.75 kilometres. I don't know how he got the 0.75 kilometres, but anyway, his average weekly distance that he ran was 487 kilometres. He averaged 50.55 hours of running per week. He had a total run time of 351.22 hours. The total distance he ran was 3,532 kilometres with 19,800 metres of elevation. And full credit goes to Merlin, aka the Wizard of the Run, for the assist, who ran the 82 days. So this is even too crazy for Team Alice, guys. I know we've been following it a little bit off to the side there. What are your thoughts? I know, Peter, this is one that you're passionate about.
I wouldn't do anything like this, like a backyard, sure. Like, Tim and Merlin are obviously very well-established endurance athletes. They're fit and capable of going as far as they did. The average Joe would not. I think it's amazing what he did, like made a lot of sacrifices to do it. And we're all thinking, he's going to get to a point where he physically just can't go on, like with the calories required and also the distance run. So, personally, would never do it. I don't think I'd get past the second week of January, but I think it is amazing to see what you can do. I mean, don't they always say that when you're 80% done, I don't know what the expression is, but a bit of Goggins style, that you can do more than you think you can.
Correct. The brain gives up before the body does.
Yeah.
There's probably a reason why that happens.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous. So, yesterday at Run Army, there was a gentleman being worked on at the 400 meters from the finish line, and so when you consider that, I mean, I will take my hat off. This is an amazing endurance thing, but I think it's dangerous for people to think that they can achieve this sort of stuff without the discipline and the training that goes into it. And as we saw yesterday, was a 10K event, and some poor fella bloody hits the wall and hits the pavement just before the finish line. So it's to me, it's dangerous. And I think there's got to be some level where we start saying enough's enough. You've showed us how good, and I'm not a fan of David Goggins at all, and I think he's quite humorous. And there's a couple of people that do some really good send-offs of Goggins, and he's a tough dude. He'd stomp my backside, no doubt. But, I just think it's dangerous when we sort of glamorize this stuff. So,
yeah, when you're the 0.1% of the population or 0.01% of the population and trying to encourage everyday other people to do what you do, there's something genetically different with some of these people, and that's how they are. So, but yeah, well done. I think it's too crazy for Tara and me. I'd probably go 2 weeks. That'd be enough for me, I think. I've got a job. I've got a life. I've got other things to do.
I'd do 2 days, just like I would do. I think I'm going to do a backyard ultra in the coming whenever. But I reckon I'll aim for 2 yards, 6.7 an hour. I think I could do maybe 3. So who knows? So we might see Curly signing up for that.
Yay.
Yes. And Lucia, that's the news this week.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tim. Now, just before we go on to our food discussion, it's time for Peter's next trivia clue.
Okay, guys, next clue. I'm an Olympian and I have won gold medals at 3 consecutive Olympic Games.
Gold medals.
Gold medals. I'm really...
Are they
I'm
Australian?
really making it so obvious. I'm not sure if you're allowed to submit questions, Lucia. But I'll give you a clue because I'm very proud of you in your half marathon. No, I'm not Australian.
Oh.
That's it. No more questions. Next.
She's a tough cookie.
Lucia's army is deserting you, Luch.
My commander's letting me down.
All right, I'll use the chat box. I'll DM you.
Now, guys, let's have some fun and let's talk about one of my favorite topics, food. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask a series of questions and get your thoughts on the food which we should be consuming for our longer runs. Now, just before we do get started, for our listeners and for the people that watch it on YouTube, this is just our advice. Please work out what works best for you. Now, I'll be curious to see what you guys think about this. Pre-race donut. Is it a good idea? If not, why not? Tim?
Each their own. It's got carbs. So carbs is good. Is it something I would have in the immediate pre-race? No, but I would have it the day or two beforehand for sure. It's probably a bit sweet for me, and it's probably more of a personal choice if you have it the morning of the race. It's probably no different than having toast with honey from a sweetness point of view. But yeah, there's probably some carbs in there. It's probably okay, but it's more something I probably wouldn't have immediately beforehand. But as I said, the night before, the day before, yeah, no worries. It's carbs.
And Peter, what do you think?
Well, I haven't tried it personally, and I try not to judge. I would say definitely after. If that's what you're craving, it's going to taste amazing. But I think I've read somewhere that you shouldn't have like fat foods before you run. Like, of course, they're deep fried. That's why they taste so good. But honestly, if it works for you, great. I just haven't tried it.
Now, Tony. What about you?
I'm gonna, and once again, I've never tried having a donut before I run, so I can't speak from experience. But I don't see a harm in if that's what you want to eat and load up with prior to running. But I think the key thing is, when do you eat it, right? So do you eat it immediately when you start running? Most of the accepted stuff gives a bit of a timeline. So breakfast before a long run, for example, for the life of me, I can't remember what that is, but it's usually an hour and a bit, up to 3 hours, I think. So I think if you're having a donut 3 hours before you run, I would have no problem with that. I don't. If it works for you, it works for you. Luch, what have you done?
Well, my recent experience, aka the weekend, I did have a very similar donut to the one that I sent you guys a picture of on the Saturday. Nice and fluffy, pink icing with hundreds and thousands. God, that went down a treat. But even I have to admit, I probably wouldn't do one on race morning. Definitely straight afterwards, as we know I do. I do have form of doing that. But I think that it could be a little bit too sweet the morning of a race, which I know may shock some viewers because we know I do go on about donuts a fair bit. So it seems the consensus, probably more post-race donuts. Next question. What actually works pre-run? How close before a race do you stop eating? And what foods are probably the safest for when the alarm goes off? I'm going to start with Tony this time.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify that timing. So I just did a quick check, and it's the ideal time frame for eating is 2 to 4 hours before starting. So, which allows a full meal, if it's a full meal, to digest. If eating a small high carb snack, wait 30 to 60 minutes. Traditionally, what works for me is I don't eat normally before a long run, so it's not ideal. But I'm more concerned with what eating does to my body and having to sit on those porta potties before a race or a long run. So I tend not to eat, but I do have like a energy bar or, a block prior to starting. So I do have something in me, but it's just nothing major. I've never understood people who can sit down and have a full breakfast. Every time we've traveled with Traveling Fit, and they say, "Oh, we're opening breakfast up at 5 o'clock," and I'm thinking, "Well, that's a wasted breakfast for me, isn't it?" So, I might have a banana or that, but that's about it. So,
and Tim, what about you?
For the average training run that we do, we'll generally have a banana or a Cliff Bar or some banana bread. Tara bakes up a whole heap of banana bread, and then we just freeze it in little serves to just get us something in the stomach before we run. If I'm going for a race where I'm looking to really perform at a high level, or even on a marathon day, we will have probably a bigger breakfast that morning because generally you're waiting around for a couple of hours before the race. So we'll generally have something a bit bigger. It might be a bagel, it might be some toast, those sort of things. But again, I don't like to put a lot of sweet stuff on there. It might be just a couple of English muffins and some butter, or maybe that's probably about all I would put on there. I'm happy with that, or a bagel with just some butter or thereabouts. I keep it plain because I want my gut to be working, but at the same time not having to work too hard.
Excellent. And Peter, what about you, love?
I find a banana is always a safe bet. I've never had an issue with that. I will have one on weekdays too for anything 5K and over. I am a big fan of the work of Dr. Stacey Sims, and she says particularly for women, you got to have something, even if it's a spoonful of yogurt or spoonful of honey has 20 grams of carbs too. That's another good one if you run out of bananas. Or the other thing I really enjoy is a couple of medjool dates. They're 20 grams of carbs each too. And I've always got them in the fridge, so that works well. On race day, I might have something a little bit more substantial, like maybe a bagel, or usually there's enough time between getting up and actually starting the event that you can eat something. Like, for example, in Sydney, we can pretty much bring a picnic. We've got hours. One thing I don't understand is people that sort of set their alarms for 3:30 or 4 a.m. on race day, get up, eat a meal, and then go back to bed. I think that's ridiculous and extreme, and there's no way you're going to digest that well if you're lying down. So think everyone's got to find out what works for you, and you just do that by trial and error. And what sounds good. Don't feel pressure that you got to do this or you got to do that. Just do what works for you.
Yeah, it is important, isn't it, Peter? It's about having that plain type food that your body can digest. And, you know, like getting up and having a bowl of cereal might work for people, but for me, having that milk sloshing around in my stomach with the cereal wouldn't work well. I'm also somebody, I don't drink coffee in real life or anything like that. I don't drink coffee at all, really, but I still struggle that these guys or people want to have a full-on cup of coffee before they go for a run, which is a diuretic in itself, so it's going to make you want to wee all the time. I don't get it, but
it can help you to go though, Tim. I think that's why they do it. Number 2.
Yeah,
You must save a fortune.
yeah. You just tell your body it's race day, and you go anyway, don't you? 3 times.
Oh, is that what you do?
I don't know. It's, to me, that's fine. I don't want things sloshing around in there, which is why I try to keep it fairly plain and you know, reasonably carby, I guess, if I am going to have something.
Well,
What about you,
yesterday,
Lucia? What do you have?
Yeah, so yesterday before my race, I had 2 pieces of toast with peanut butter. Had and then maybe about 40 minutes after that, and maybe about an hour before the race, I had a banana, because I'm very similar to Peter. Anything over 5Ks, I'll always have a banana, and then depending on the distance I do will depend on what I have. And this isn't going to surprise you guys, what I'm about to say next. If I've had pizza the night before, if I've got pizza left over, I can easily have a slice of pizza and then go out for a run. But as I said at the beginning, it works for me. So, like as we've said, it's trial and error, but generally my go-to is peanut butter on toast.
You never let us down, Luch.
I aim to please. Now, this one is going to be an interesting one. During the run, doing a reality check, at what point does fueling stop being optional and start being the difference between finishing strong or walking home and questioning life choices? Tim?
I generally fuel on my runs. It just depends. It depends on the run I'm doing. So even though it's a long run, I can run 21 Ks and not have any fuel on it if I'm going at a reasonably slow sort of a pace for a training run. But if I'm in a race mode situation, every 45 minutes I've got to have fuel. And that's the rule I live by, and it works for me. But it does change. If I'm on a long run and I'm pushing it a lot harder, I'll have some fuel, again, try to replicate race conditions, but maybe not every 45 minutes, maybe every hour, because it gets expensive. I guess that's the other thing. It does get expensive consuming 3 or 4 or 5 gels on a long run on a Sunday every week. So it just depends on where I'm at with my training and what I'm doing. Yeah, generally I will only fuel once if I have a long run. I use liquid fuels as well, which I help reduce it. So we've got our RunLee vests, and we'll put a little flask in there of liquid fuel, which we'll take for our training runs. And then in our main runs, we'll use gels and shot blocks and those sorts of things, if that makes sense.
And Tony?
I was looking at the question, and for me, it's more about at what point does fueling start becoming optional. So I always start a race or a long run with full intention that every 5K I'm going to be taking a couple of blocks and having a drink and all that sort of stuff. And then by what I find happening to my body during a marathon is come the 30K mark, I can't take another thing in. And then I just rely on water and electrolytes to get me through the rest. So I always start with full intention, and I normally come home with half the blocks that I set out with, or half the jelly beans that I set out with. And to me, I just get to a point where my gut says, don't give me anything else. You've got enough fuel on your body that I'm going to try and take off you. and that's the reality for my situation. So I think it's, all the literature says what Tim was saying, every 40 minutes, whatever that looks like for you, you should be taking X amount of grams of carbs in and whatnot. But I just get to the point where my body just says no. And sometimes that could just be I'm tired of the taste. I'm sick of the taste. But that's what I see. And, I'm walking home anyway because I'm doing that walk-run scenario. So, yeah, I know it doesn't help anyone. And I didn't answer the question, but still, I shared a story. Peter?
I'd probably start taking something, maybe anything over 10K in training. Before that, usually my banana will get me through. And on race day, every 6K seems to work for me. And then mathematically, I can do that in my head. And then it means I have my last fuel at 36K, which usually gets you through to the end too.
I'm kind of similar to Peter, that I take something every 4Ks, but then what I always tend to find, and I rotate. So the first 4K, it's like 2 snakes or something. Then at the second one, it's a bite of some type of muesli bar / Cliff Bar. Then at the 12K mark, it's a gel. So for a marathon, I tend to bring 3 gels with me, but I rarely have all 3 because I also get to the point I'm like, my stomach just can't take it anymore. But then I also get to the point that to help me remember where I am in my cycle, I actually write down the K on the gel. So like either 12K, 24 or 36. And so that way I remember which part, what I'm taking next, because otherwise I've been known to, I'm counting on my fingers, okay, I've done this, this and this while I'm running. So at least writing the K number on the gel, it's kind of helped for me.
Good
as
idea.
weird as it sounds.
Mm.
Now
Good
this one I'm intrigued. Worst mid-run snack ideas. Now, I love my sweets pre-run, but would any of you guys have chocolate, chips, donuts, or even leftover pizza mid-run? Peter, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Probably not mid-run, but honestly, if, say you went for a run and forgot to bring your fuel with you, and that was the only thing on offer at the servo, probably, you couldn't go astray with some lollies or something like that. And then probably the most annoying thing is all that stuff sounds good normally, but just not when you're running. It's not going to digest well, I don't think.
Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, no, not for me. Chips, chocolates, too salty, too sweet. It's going to give me stomach issues. Donuts, if I had to, if they were a little bit more staler, I could probably handle all that if I really had to. I guess for me, anything with chili would be a really bad idea. So the leftover pizza that I've got in the fridge here at the moment that Tara made for dinner last night, she told me to chop up 2 habanero chilies. I chopped up 2 habanero chilies, and it's a bloody hot pizza and spicy. So that's one I wouldn't want to run with. So anything with chili or anything is something I definitely wouldn't want to run with. But yeah, no, none of that sounds appealing, Lucia.
Tony, what about you,
Yeah,
mate?
I'd just make it easy. No.
Yeah.
I'm very similar to Peter. All those ideas, I'd have it all, but surprisingly, not even I'd do it mid-run, because my fear would be, would I throw up? Having something even though I can stomach it either pre or post, but mid-run, I don't know. Now, Tim, you've touched on our next question: sweet versus salty during the long runs. What's your preference and why?
Well, generally, I would have to say sweet, given that all my gels are sweet flavored. I generally don't like salty. I guess I try to avoid salt because I associate salt with dehydration. I've never tried the salt sticks or any of that sort of stuff, or the pickle juice that you've had before, Tony. But for me, it's probably more sweet is where I sit. But I do get to a point in marathons when I am running hard and fast that even at the point I get to it where I just don't want any more sweet stuff, and I might at that point sacrifice having any more gels more because I just don't want to deal with the sweetness anymore. But yeah, sweet, definitely.
Tony, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I'm a little bit like that too. Usually it's sweet or a bit neutrally, I guess. The blocks that I have that I usually have aren't necessarily sweet. They're a bit more of a neutral flavour. But I think I've shared the story about pretzels at mile 22 at New York, and they were one of the best things ever. So, I generally say sweet, but I think salty has its place if that's what it is that you're craving.
And Peter?
I think sweet during. And I also acknowledge how expensive gels are these days. And what's been working brilliantly for me is the party mix from Aldi. They make these big bags of party mix. And unlike the Allens or the ones at Coles, they're really nice and soft to chew because I don't have great teeth, and so I need something that's easy to chew. And just one lolly is 10 grams of carbs. So, on the weekend when I did 24K, I'll sort of alternate. 6K, I'll eat 6 lollies. 12K, I'll have a swig of a flask of Endura, which you can also get very cheap from places like Chemist Warehouse.
For a sec, as soon as you said swing, I'm like, are you drinking alcohol during your runs?
Of course not, Lucia. I would never do that. But yeah, when you look at the ingredients of sports drink, honestly, the Powerade at the supermarket, that's what they serve on the Sydney Marathon course, don't they? You don't have to spend a fortune on that stuff. It's all the same when you look at the ingredients. So salty after, I support that. There's nothing better than a bag of plain Smith crisps after a marathon, or just plain salty corn chips. Phenomenal.
Usually because of all the salt all over your face and your shirt from all the want to get
I'm
back
a salty sweater for sure, and they just taste so good.
in.
Not that I do it often, Tim, but like after a special occasion, not every week.
Yes, no, that's it.
Now, I do like my sweets during the race, so like the lollies, the gels. I know, shock horror. But there's been a couple of instances. One was the City to Surf, and they were giving out packets of those. I think they're called Harvest Snack. It's the green.
Yep. Snow peas.
Yes. They went down a treat because they were so salty. And then I remember when we did Dopey, Tim, people were handing out pretzels at some point in the marathon. Again, it went down a treat. So not that I would bring it on me, and I've never had those salt tablets, but it's something that if someone was giving out and if it felt like I needed to, I would easily have something salty. Definitely. Now, I'm conscious of time, so this may be our last question. Post-run priorities. Now, I'm starting to get a bit of a complex, Tim, because it seems that nearly every second question has donuts in it. So, is smashing a donut immediately after a long run, is it acceptable as a recovery strategy, or should runners pretend or should they pretend that they are responsible adults and wait a decent amount of time before you smash something like a donut? Tim, what do you think, mate?
It's acceptable if that's what you feel like and you don't care too much. But the responsible thing is protein. And the reality is when you speak to nutritionists and dietitians, they talk about as the 30 minutes straight after a run is when you should shove as much protein into your body as you can to help with your recovery and the micro tears. So things like having eggs on toast, things like having a protein shake straight after you run, whilst it may not be the thing you're craving, it is something that your muscles are craving to help with recovery. So yes, you can have a donut immediately afterwards, but it's probably not the responsible thing.
Peter.
Yeah, I must admit I'm a good girl. I will do the protein afterwards. I don't always make that 30-minute window though, because personally a shower is much more important to me. Getting out of that sweaty gear. But yeah, I will try and have something healthy. But then later on, if I want a little treaty, like on the weekend, I had some matcha raspberry hot cross buns from Coles. It was so bloody good, and I was looking forward to that my whole run. So I think, yep, get your protein in, but later on, if you feel like a little treaty, you go for it. Whatever you fancy.
What was that? A
Tony?
matcha raspberry hot cross bun.
Yes, with little chunks of white chocolate in it. They weren't very matcha-y. They just looked impressive with the green crosses, but they were a taste sensation. And
Wow.
hot cross buns, I think we need to say that's a very underrated carb loading strategy as well that goes down race morning too. Like I look forward to Easter because you can always get a hot cross bun down, let's face it.
Tony?
We normally grab a protein shake or something. So normally after a long run, we pop down the local AGA, pick up a loaf of fruit toast, and that becomes our weekend breakfast thing. But while we're there, we'll get a protein shake to throw down so that we're getting that protein in within the 30 minutes after the run. But then every now and again we reward ourselves with a chocolate thick shake from Macca's. There's sometimes there is nothing better. So if their machines are working.
Yeah, we tried, didn't we, Tony, to try and get a McDonald's sponsorship very early on and mention McDonald's many times in the early episodes, particularly off of the chocolate thick shakes, and McDonald's just didn't listen to us on our podcast, so that's strange.
And we're still open to a McDonald's. We haven't closed the door on the opportunity, so feel free to reach out via our socials.
Nothing better than a dirty Macca's after a marathon, I find.
Yeah.
Especially in London when they have the McPlant burgers. They are so good. My pacing partner, Roz, and I, we love a Macca's after a race. Just the salt and probably the fat combo is amazing. Got to try it. I wonder if there's Macca's in Hobart, surely.
Where we stayed in Sydney for the Sydney Marathon at Woolloomooloo, Harry's Cafe de Wheels is just out the front. And we walked back and it was the hot meat pie with sauce and some hot chips and a big bottle of Coke. And we just took it back into our room and sat on the floor and started stripping our clothes off little bit by little bit as we're just picking away at our hot meat pie and our hot chips and Coke. It was perfect.
That's a bit erotic, Tim. But amazing.
Anyway,
slowly. You know how it is. You eat a bit, you take a sock or two off, you eat a bit more, you take a bit more off it. You just do it slowly and then eventually you finish it off and you jump in the shower.
Sounds good. Was it the best pie you've ever had?
No.
No.
I think it's overrated, Harry's Cafe de Wheels.
Yeah.
I haven't had one of those pies in ages, but back to the topic on hand. Post my priorities, I do seem to have a tendency, if a donut's in accessible reach, I will have a donut because on the walk back when I did Chicago, on the walk back to the hotel, I walked into Dunkin' Donuts still with my space blanket. I stunk like anything. I'm in the queue for 2 donuts and a bottle of Coke, and was one of the best post-race treats I've ever had.
Did they not give them to you in Chicago? When we crossed, we got Stan's Donuts, little mini ones, individually wrapped when we crossed, and just grabbed like 5 or 6 of them each of us as we walked past. So
not that I saw, no. Because trust me, if I'd seen it, I would have grabbed them.
Yeah.
Or you could be like
Sorry.
Or you could be like Sydney and get your apple.
Get your green apple and your muesli bar.
Well, they did that in Chicago because, as you know, when you walk through the finish chute and you just keep walking and walking and walking, it was Stan's Donuts first from memory, then the apple, then the banana, and then the protein muscle milkshake, and then the beer.
The beer.
Oh no, see, no,
Me,
I got the beer
Yeah.
first.
same.
No, beer was at the end.
Literally. And
Beer
I
was
just
the
thought,
last
wow,
thing.
this would never be allowed in Australia. But it was the best beer ever.
It was.
Peter, which year did you do Chicago?
2018.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Is that
no,
different
it's
to you?
good. Yeah, I did it in 22.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still a great memory. I do only remember the beer. I don't remember getting anything else. But
I keep saying I
Too
remember getting
silent.
the beer before a bottle of water.
No, and we
Now,
got
guys.
we got the long silver bottles of water with the screw lids on top of them, whatever they're called, the famous brand. But they gave us those because I remember throwing them in the recycling bin. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chicago's
no.
good.
Yeah.
yeah. Let's do it again.
Okay.
Oh God, don't tempt me. Now, guys, that's been a fun discussion. So it's time to start wrapping up the episode. But before we do, I'm going to hand it back to Peter for the final quiz question.
I reckon you're going to get it now, guys. So, hands on buzzers. During the 2008 Beijing Olympics, I reportedly ate 1,000 McDonald's chicken nuggets. McDonald's
Michael,
again.
no. Usain Bolt?
You know. Yes!
You're saying no.
Yep, Usain Bolt. Well done, Luch.
That was a pure
I didn't even
guess.
plan that Macca's plug either. See?
There you go. Macca's.
Put you on the brain,
Oh, boy.
Macca's.
How much is this advertising worth to Macca's?
I know, right? But how's it go eating 100 chicken nuggets a day? Apparently, that's the secret. Also with
I
good
ha-
genetics, but
I had no
In my
idea who that
research-
was.
Usain Bolt, you didn't. Well, I was trying to be really quite mean with the first two clues and that a bit of work. But did you guys know that he's got a kid called Lightning?
No.
I didn't know that until because I was Googling trying to find a good person, and
That's
he's got
cruel.
3 kids, and one of them's called Lightning Bolt. I know, I was
Yeah.
shocked too.
Olympia Lightning Bolt and twin sons named Thunderbolt and Saint Leo Bolt.
Oh, that's Thunderbolt, and Lightning's the middle name.
Mm.
Yeah,
Sounds like
Olympia
the-
Lightning. Yeah.
Sounds like the ASICS shoe lineup.
Mind you, if we were the fastest man on the planet ever and our last name was Bolt, you would have some fun with it, wouldn't you?
Mm.
Oh, but then you got to think about other kids going to get teased at school.
Yeah.
Probably not
Yeah.
if they're Usain Bolt though.
Yeah, I call it Nut and. That'd be their first name, Nut.
At
Okay.
least they'd be able to run.
Now we're going to move on before this gets even worse than what it already is. Now, guys, we're mixing it up a lot this week. Now it's time for Tony to give us his tip for the week.
Here's
Absolutely.
Tony's tip, take it or leave it. Some days you run, some days you breathe in. I've tried it wrong, I've tried it late. Still cross that line at my own pace. Here's Tony's tip, no finished trick, just something I needed when I needed it.
The week.
Absolutely. And it is all about when you're injured and you're going through rehab. Because one of the things I noticed yesterday for myself was my mind was set on what I needed to do and wanted to do and should do. But the minute you're lining up for a race and you've got everyone doing their stretches and doing their jogging on the spot, and my mind was thinking, oh, surely a little run won't hurt. And the mindset to say, no, Tony, you're in rehab and you know that your knee will cane. So I think that that's really important. So when you're on rehab, don't lose sight of rehab and stay true to that rehab to give you the best possible chance to come out of that injury. Don't get caught up in the atmosphere and do something you'll regret. and but still set goals. So as I mentioned earlier, I set myself a goal that any time before 1 hour 40 I was going to be happy about, because that meant that I didn't average more than 10 minutes a kilometre. So I came in at 1:34. So I was pretty stoked with that. So you can still set goals while you're in rehab and not do any longer term damage. So that's my tip.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Tony. Now, guys, the episode's about to end. But before we do, Peter, what's on the cards for next week?
Thanks, Lucia. Well, it's starting to get very close to the Boston Marathon. And on next week's show, we're going to talk about our top 10 tips for the Boston Marathon. Now, we aren't the fastest of runners, so our tips, whilst for everyone, will be mainly targeted towards those runners who are nearer the back of the pack and the front of the expo line. We'll share our memories of this event as we talk about everything from the expo to the finish line and everything in between. So as we keep saying, we are the only podcast with 5 7-star world major marathoners. And as usual, it will be another great episode and definitely not one to be missed.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Peter. Thanks, Peter. Guys, that's it for this week's show. As usual, it's been another fun one, and hopefully we've given you, our listeners, a laugh or two on your long run. We love making this podcast for you, our listeners. So why not contact us with a message on Instagram, Facebook, or email us at happyrunning@flyingrunner.com and tell us your thoughts. We love getting feedback, and we'll reply to most messages in a very timely manner. So if you have any questions about food, why not send us through a question or two? And you can watch this episode on YouTube, Spotify, or listen to Apple, Amazon, and all major platforms. Every step counts. Keep running, and we'll see you next time on the Flying RuNR Podcast. Happy running.
Happy running.
Teach the flying runner, run far, run free. Host the 7 stars, inclusive as can be.